Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Making an Impact with Zebu Nation. And today we have for you the beginning of Season 5 of our amazing MLS journey here with the Montreal Impact. And of course, a new season means we have another episode of our MLS preview show. This is for the 2022 season. Been doing this for a while, and it just keeps getting better and better. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the MLS preview show, this is where I look at the rest of the league. We've already looked at our own team, all the drafts and all that kind of stuff. So now we're going to look at the rest of the league, look at their signings, look at their best players, who are the best teams in the league, and then finally, we get down to the media predictions and see where the media predicts everybody to finish and kind of do a little, pre-season analysis on the eve of the regular season, if that makes any sense. It's a regular season analysis. Whatever. Let's get to it. But first, actually, we got a little bit of housekeeping to do. We have passed the roster deadline date for the beginning of the season, which means we've had to register the squad. So we're going to take a look here at squad registration. And this is where we've had to get underneath all of these various MLS rules and get the squad together. Got 29 players on the roster, got 3 designated players, only 7 of our 8 internationals, so we got a little room to maneuver there, although we do have 2 internationals coming in at the mid-season, so we're going to actually have to add an international slot or get rid of one of our current international players. But that's for later in the season. Right now, we're fine. We're fine with off-budget players, reserves. So we've only got 2 reserves, so we could have actually signed our draft picks to reserve contracts if we wanted to, but I'm a little nervous about that sometimes. So, whatever. We're fine. We're fine. The point of all this is we're fine, including the salary cap. We are exactly at the salary cap, $4.25 million. And we had to do a little bit of finagling to get under that. Now, like I said, we didn't have to cut anybody, didn't have to waive anybody, but we did have to use up a little bit of our finances here. Take a look at league specific. We had to use about $400,000 in general allocation money to get under the salary cap. So we're spending a little bit more money than what we should, maybe. I don't know. I think it's worth it. Keep these good players. Had to give some raises. We got a lot of contracts coming up at the end of the season, so we're going to have to dole out even more money next year. We'll see if we can keep this team together or not. But for now, we got everybody we can possibly fit under the salary cap. They're there. I mean, I guess we do have $200,000 wiggle room, so that's fine. We got some targeted allocation money. That's probably going to come into play at mid-season when we sign some of those other guys. But for now, like I said, everything is fine. We registered. Didn't have to waive anybody. It's all good. So let's get to the competitions here. Major League Soccer. And check out our preseason preview. And here we go. Not preseason preview. The season preview. The regular season preview. And there's not a lot of drama here because we are once again predicted first in the league. 5-1 odds to win the league. Of course, we won the MLS Cup last season, and they usually make the MLS Cup winner the favorite going on to the next season. It says our key player is Carlos Alberto. That's interesting. I don't know that he's going to start at the beginning of the season. I would say our key player is Thiago here, our vice captain for the season. It's the first time Thiago has been named captain, so that's good. And then, of course, Jaguar is our number 1 captain. And then head coach, Zebu Nation. Is there anything interesting going on with us these days? I think everything is pretty much leveled out to what it's going to be for the most part. Yeah, nothing here has really changed much, other than we're a Hall of Fame coach, in case you missed that little news item. Yeah, so we're looking good. Second prediction is FC Dallas. Again, the Western Conference, very strong. FC Dallas 6-1 odds, so they're not very far behind us. They're not too far removed from their triple championship winning season of 2016, 2017, and 2018, so they're trying to rebuild that. Carlos Grazo is still on the team. Michael Bradley, Bob Bradley, the Bradley boys are still in charge over there. Matt Hedges is still the captain. So they're an aging team, at least in terms of these top players. How old is Grazo now? He's only 26, so he's in his prime. No problem there. As their midfielder, he might play their segundo. I don't know if that's their favorite formation, if they play with a segundo. Probably not. He's probably more of a ball-winning midfielder. He could even be playing in the midfield as box-to-box, something like that. Who knows what they're using him as, but he is valued at $5.5 million. He's a very, very solid MLS player. Very good defensive player with that marking and tackling. Haven't played at FC Dallas much in the last few years, just like once a season or so, if that. I don't remember playing them last season, but maybe we did. But anyway, FC Dallas looking good. How's their registration? Only 24 players on the roster, only 2 designated players, and yet they are a little over the salary cap. Sometimes MLS will let you go over the salary cap if you re-sign a player after the roster deadline. So that's a little trick to getting over the salary cap a little bit. But, sometimes they don't let you, so you got to watch out. I don't exactly know the rule as to when they let you, when they don't. But I have noticed that if you re-sign a player after the roster deadline, you get this little exclamation point here, but it doesn't make you cut anybody or waive anybody until the next registration date, like the next hard registration date. Or if you try to re-register somebody else, like if you try to bring somebody else in and register them, then it'll make you get under the cap. But if you just sign a player, or re-sign a player, that is, it's okay. So there we go. FC Dallas of the Western Conference. Vancouver of the Western Conference 8-1. But we got a couple of Eastern Conference teams slipped in there in the top 5. Atlanta United, once again, predicted to be at the top of the Eastern Conference. They had a bit of an off season last year. 10th in the Supporters' Shield, so that was probably still pretty good. They were, I think, 3rd or 4th in the Eastern Conference last season. Again, they've got some familiar names there. Hector Villalba as their key player. Dylan Powers as their vice captain. How long has he been at the team? 31 years old. He's been at the team for 4 years. Got him in a trade from New England. He's worked his way up to vice captain. Darlington Nagbe is captain there. He's been there for a while now, at least 3 or 4 seasons. Let's see it. At least 6 seasons, apparently. Oh, yeah, that's right. He came in on the update that I used. Brought him in the 2017 season. So, yeah, he has been there all 6 seasons. Because, again, we started our save a year later, but the computer was still playing in 2017 anyway. Yeah, so Atlanta United, probably going to be our chief rival in the Eastern Conference. Nico Estevez, head coach, 42-year-old Spaniard. He looks okay. Nothing to be too afraid of. How's our relationship with old Nico? We got a good relationship with him. So no problems there, no big rivalries with him, but yeah, we're going to have to face Atlanta United on the field. Senior squad, 27 players, so they got a good amount of depth. 3 designated players, 8 internationals. Got some room under the salary cap as well. Got about $500,000 under the salary cap. So Atlanta United has some room to maneuver there. We're going to have to take a look at these boys. Garza is injured. Powers, Nagbe. We're gonna have to look at their transfers and see what they've done, but not now. We'll continue going down the list. New England 33-1 odds. So really, it's these top 4 teams who are really the media is predicting are going to be the top teams in the league. Vancouver and FC Dallas in the West. Atlanta United, Montreal in the East. Take a quick look at Vancouver, one of our Canadian rivals. We might be fighting with these guys for the Canadian Championship this season. We'll see. That's how it usually works out. Taysan from Brazil is their key player. 34-year-old left winger. Yeah, he looks pretty good. A lot of flair and determination. First touch. Yeah, he's pretty talented. Physically, he hasn't fallen off a cliff yet at 34 years old. He's still holding on. So he can definitely be a dangerous player for them. Did they get him this season? They sure did. $2.2 million. Came over from the Ukraine. Played in the Ukraine for a dozen years or so. Interesting maneuver. They got Tibert is still their vice captain. Watson from Costa Rica is their captain. Looky here, old Wilmer Cabrera, 54-year-old Colombian. He's been around the league. Starts off in the Houston Dynamo. Then he moved to LA Galaxy. Now he's up to Vancouver. What's our relationship with old Wilmer? I don't think we have. Oh, yeah. Fairly poor. Because our coach starts off as a fan of FC Dallas, and Cabrera starts off as the coach of their chief rival. We start off with a poor relationship with Wilmer, and now he's coaching at one of our Canadian rivals. So our relationship is probably going to stay pretty poor with Wilmer. That's fine. We need a few coaching rivals, so we'll keep an eye on that. So in the Eastern Conference, we also have New England in 5th place. New York, DC United at 45 and 50-1 odds. NYC all the way down at 100-1 odds. So after that, we got some teams down here that they got some interesting odds. I'm not sure that I agree with some of these. For example, LA Galaxy 150-1 odds. San Jose 200-1 odds. Both of these teams, I think, may have improved themselves. Well, the Galaxy lost some players, but they still have the Dos Santos. They got Sanchez from Spain here, 31 years old, deep line playmaker. I think LA still has talent, and we're going to see later on San Jose's made a lot of moves this offseason. So it's kind of an interesting mix of teams. Chicago and Philadelphia and Orlando and Columbus all down at the bottom. So it could be a bit of a easy run at the in the Eastern Conference here. We got 4 teams who are predicted to be the worst in the league. 1,000-1 odds for 3 of them. Los Angeles. Again, they're having problems in Los Angeles. They still got Carlos Vela. They got a few new faces going on there, including their coach, Josh Wolf. I think he's new. Yeah, he was the Vancouver coach. Again, we see a lot of recycled coaches here in MLS. So he was at Vancouver for 3 seasons. Now he's going to give LAFC a try. So it's an interesting look. It seems like a pretty balanced league this year. There's not like a ton of Western Conference teams at the top. Maybe the Eastern Conference is a little softer at the bottom. But other than that, I think the 2 conferences are going to be pretty even. And, you know, we're going to have to win a lot of games, and we're going to have to start winning early, because now we got not just the board expectations, we've got media expectation. That's going to bring the fan expectation. So everybody is going to be hunting us as the #1 team in the league. So we got to watch out for that. Got some other things to look at on the list here, namely the Media Dream 11. Andre Blake in goal. We saw him in the MLS Cup at the end of last season. He's still a very good goalkeeper at 31 years old. He's only valued at $2.3 million, so if you want to come in and pick up a good goalkeeper, Andre Blake isn't a bad option. Skelvic at left fullback, playing for LA Galaxy. Tobio. Fernando. Is that an I? I think that's an I. Yeah, that's an I. Tobio. I think central defender, 32 years old. 33 years old. Marek Suchi from New York. Central defender, Czech Republic. Yeah, pretty good. A lot of old guys on this list. I don't know if I like that. He just came in this season, so we got some new blood in MLS this season. Coyle at right back. 26-year-old Englishman, Louis Coyle. He's played at Real Salt Lake for a couple years. Got him from Sporting Kansas City, who got him from Leeds. So a youngster from Leeds who didn't quite pan out there. Only played about 15 games in the championship. Before making his way to MLS, but that's okay. Look at this. Here's one of our guys, Carlos Alberto. Again, they're really high. The league really loves this guy. 20 years old. Getting better. So it's going to be hard to keep this guy on the bench, but he does still have a reserve contract, I think. Yeah, he's got a rotational contract. So we can keep him on the bench a little bit. Now that Petrasso is back and healthy, those two guys can just fight it out, and whoever plays best is going to play. That's how it's going to work out. Ladero in the midfield, Taysan in the midfield, Villalba on the right-hand side. Junior Moraes, 34-year-old Brazilian. Again, another old guy on this list. Just came in from Vancouver, $850,000. Another guy from the Ukraine, Dynamo Kiev. Where did he come from? Originally from Brazil, Santos. Okay. So he's had quite a trip. A lot of Brazilians in Ukraine for some reason. And then finally at striker, Bagado. 21-year-old Argentinian. There we go. There's a youngster, Tomas Bagado. Yeah, he looks pretty good. Contracted to DC United. Look at those physicals. That's outstanding. No gaps in his game athletically. Mentally pretty strong, and technically he's got it where it counts. First touch and finishing. Just give this guy the ball and let him score goals. DC United, they got him last year mid-season, $2.8 million from Argentina. So we'll see now that he's going to have a full season under his belt. We'll see how he does at DC United. So we're going to have to watch out for him during the regular season. Speaking of all this transfer activity, let's move on to that. We got total transfer spending this season of $25 million. That's not a lot for an entire league. You think about, in the Premier League, that's like one small team will spend $25 million in an off season. So we got a ways to go to catch up to the big boys. But anyway, as I mentioned, San Jose made a lot of moves this off season. $7.08 million they spent on 5 players. So they brought in a lot of players, but the media is dubious. They've got San Jose all the way down 200-1 odds. So they're predicting probably they're going to have some trouble integrating those 5 new players. Meanwhile, you can sort of see why Los Angeles dropped down the list, because they were the lowest net transfer. They had a net transfer positive of $4.79 million. So they sold 1 player out, only 2 players in, and they sold somebody for big bucks. So let's take a look at the transfer activity for the season. Not a lot of transfer activity, just sort of, a lot of guys on loan and waived and drafted, but not a lot of money spent. So number 1 on the season was Luan, coming from Seville to San Jose for $5 million. 31-year-old Brazilian striker. Looking pretty good. Lots of really good mentals and technicals. So he's going to be a handful out there in San Jose. And then here's the big move from LA Galaxy. They lost João Pedro. $4.8 million, could go up to as much as $6 million. They lost him to Bordeaux, League One in France. So, surprised he didn't go back to Portugal, but whatever. That's a lot of money. Then Atlanta United, $4.7 million for Juan Dineno. There's no accents around there, so I think it's just Dineno. Another striker brought in, 27 years old. Physically, he's okay. Strong guy. He might be a target man. Doesn't have a lot of pace. Mentally, he's just sort of average, you know. Is this guy worth that much? I don't know. He is a target man. You know, he's just sort of average dude, average Joe. I don't know that he's actually worth $5.5 million. But maybe, you know, because he's got less weaknesses in his game, that sort of makes him stronger overall. I guess that's the theory. Anyway, we'll see how he does. And here's an interesting move from Arsenal to Toronto FC for $4.5 million. Adam Lallana. Is anybody familiar with this guy? 33 years old, advanced playmaker. Pace has dropped off significantly, but wow, look at these mentals. He is out of control. 17 determination and flair and work rate. 17 first touch and technique. So this guy is a highly intelligent, highly technical player in the midfield here. He's going to make some plays for Toronto. Either footed. Take a look at his stats. Played at Arsenal, Liverpool, Southampton. This guy's been in the Premier League for a decade. Before that, Southampton was in the Sky Bet leagues. Southampton was in the Premier League his first season, and they dropped down for a while, but then they made their way back up. And he had some good seasons for them. Played lots of games. Kind of tailed off near the end of his career with Arsenal, but still had some good seasons. 3 goals, 2 assists, 7.3 rating just 2 years ago. End of the 2020 season. So he might have some gas in the tank. We'll see what old Adam Lallana can do for Toronto. We're going to see him twice this season unless he gets injured. Then there's our move. We sold Junior Ramos to Atlas for $4 million. That sort of fueled our offseason. Didn't like seeing Junior go. He's an outstanding player. Still only 24 years old. Again, a guy with not a lot of weaknesses in his game. Just sort of captain average up and down his attributes. But he was a good player for us. A good team leader. Solid player in the midfield. But we got good players in the midfield, so he is replaceable. And $4 million, there's nothing we could do. That was the sell-on clause. We had to get rid of him. Then from Shakhtar, Vancouver, there's Tayson. We saw this guy, 34-year-old Brazilian. Yep. And then here's our big move in terms of bringing a guy in. We brought in Liam Boyce, the target man from Burton Albion, $1.9 million. Take a look at him, still looking pretty solid. First touch, finishing, determination, work rate and everything like that is pretty okay. Physicals are still pretty okay for a 30-year-old, so no problems there. $1.3 million. There's Suchi to New York Red Bulls. From River Plate to San Jose. Another move for San Jose. Valentin Matils? Valentin Matlis. All right, that's an L. They need to get their font together. I mean, that looks like 2 L's. Come on. FM, get your font right. Anyway, nice speed and athleticism from this guy. Not very strong or big. Now, 6 foot tall is okay. But yeah, first touch. He's a box-to-box midfielder. He's got that long shooting and passing and tackling, so this guy can give you a lot of versatility in that midfield. He can do a lot of stuff. You know, he can be a little bit of a playmaker, a little bit of a goal scorer. So, yeah, I think that's definitely only 21 years old. It's a very good addition for San Jose. Vancouver, again, trying to strengthen up. You can see why they're so highly rated. They picked up Robert Rojas from Saprissa for $1.1 million, and then there's Junior Marias from Dynamo Kiev. Let's check out Rojas. 19-year-old Costa Rican. How did I miss this guy? Decent physicals. Defensive fullback. Yeah, he's very good physicals for a fullback. Decision making. You know, he's got a lot of room to grow. If he's got a lot of potential, then this is a pretty good signing. If he doesn't have a lot of potential, then they sort of wasted their money a little bit. He's okay. I mean, I've played guys who look like this. No, definitely. There's no question about that. But for $1.5 million, maybe not. I mean, I got guys like this from the Super Draft, honestly. So we'll see if they get value out of him or not. But still, he's a decent player. Empoli, another guy to San Jose from Empoli, Luis Felipe. 24-year-old Brazilian, so more youth there. 6'2", 15 jumping reach, central defender. Solid player here, not spectacular, but definitely solid. Will definitely give them some stability in their central defense. So you can see why I'm high on San Jose. They've made some good moves this offseason. Here's another guy for San Jose, Daniel Hernandez, Atlético Nacional. We play these guys just about every season. Whenever we take a trip down to South America, we'll play Atlético. They're a good team. Daniel Hernandez, 31 years old. Physically falling off a little bit, a little slow. Mentally still very solid. Technically just sort of okay. Free kick taking, corner taking. You know, he gives them some specialty abilities. Attacking midfielder, so he's going to be a little bit of a playmaker for him. So we'll see what he's got left in the tank. I don't know that I'd spend a lot of money on him, but they only spent $275K on him, so that's not too bad. We're getting down to some of the smaller transfers now. Orlando City picked up Enrique Tiverino, 33 years old. More old guys. Why spend so much money on old guys? I don't know. I mean, he's all right. Penalty taking, 16. Finishing, 14. He's fine, I guess, but I don't know that I'd spend money on that guy. Dida from Gramilo, 24 years old. There we go. That's more like it. Goalkeeper. Yeah, he's okay. Agility, aerial reach, reflexes, all 15. This guy could help New York finish a little higher than people are predicting. I think they're predicted, 15th or so. So they could definitely finish a little higher than that. Vitaitis Andruskevicius. Oof, there's a name for you. To Colorado, what is he all about? 31-year-old Lithuanian. Defensive fullback, looks okay. So the wingbacks, like a few years ago, wingbacks were all in vogue. But now people are starting to get on the defensive fullback train. They're starting to bring in some, slightly better defenders out there on the wing. So we're going to have to watch out for that this season because, we've been, for a couple of years now, we've been blasting by tiny little wingbacks, and they couldn't do anything at all with some of our big players. So now we'll see if, maybe some of these defensive fullbacks will play a little better defense against our wingers and forwards. Here's one of our smaller moves here. We let go of Dakota Gomez to the New York Cosmos for $115,000, possibly up to $150,000 if he plays every game this season. It's finally time to let him go. He's a super draft player. He was never quite going to be in our starting lineup. And, he was going to sit on the bench, and he was going to be fine with that, I guess. But if we can get a little money for him, why not move him on? We got other players. It's no problem. 5'11" central defender with 11 jumping reach was just never going to cut it, really. unless he was, an outstanding player. Now, he's a good leader. So, again, we lost another leader off the team, but, he wasn't going to play for us except in dire emergencies. So, might as well let him go. A few more moves here at the bottom. Look at this. Yuka Ritala to Vancouver. No, from Vancouver to TPS. So these are some names that could be familiar. Ritala, Finnish, 33 years old, getting close to retirement, I think. Only valued at 51,000. Going back to Europe, going back to TPS. Are they in Finland? They are in Finland, in the Veikkausliiga. So he's going back home. That's a good move for him, I think. Columbus Crew picked up Sao Paulo for 66,000. No, picked up from Sao Paulo. It's a little late at night. You gotta forgive me. It's a little late at night. But anyway, some smaller moves. Houston Dynamo. They didn't make many moves this offseason. Probably went with their draft strategy. They've been going with the draft strategy for a few years. Picked up a player, a domestic player from San Diego, Eric Acuna, 25-year-old American. He looks okay. Goalkeeper, 15 reflexes, 14 aerial reach. That's not the guy. Was he a super draft player at any point? Yes, he was a super draft player for Los Angeles in 2018. Bounced around. Played pretty well at San Diego. Played 2 full seasons there. He allowed twice as many goals last season as he did in 2020 when he, sort of killed it. 7.13 rating as a goalkeeper is pretty good. We'll see. He'll be a backup most likely at Houston, so we'll see what he does, if anything. So there you go. Not a ton of transfers this offseason, but some, some okay moves. Feels like the league is solidifying now. Everybody's starting to play a little better, starting to get their rosters in a little better shape. No more teams with 17 or 18 players on the roster. It seems like they've figured out how to, keep their contracts under wraps. I think a lot of problems is with those first few seasons. Teams have some crazy contracts that the teams made happen in real life, but FM can't really accommodate some of the wacky stuff they did to get those contracts. Even though most of the rules are in here, some of the nuances and subtleties of things teams can do aren't quite in the game. With some of their special contracts and all that kind of stuff. So teams have these wild contracts that I think the game just doesn't quite know what to do with. And so once those contracts get off the books, they can start leveling out their teams. I think that's what's happening here. So we'll see. I think it's going to be a better season this year. I mean, it was a tough season last year, but I think it's going to be just as good this season. Teams look like they made some good moves. Pretty good draft this season. I thought it was a pretty high-quality draft. We were able to scout the draft this season, so that was good. Figured that out after 5 seasons. But yeah, I'm going to try to keep this a shorter one. Don't need an hour-long special.